said, we have a quorum here, and everybody the full committee's in attendance, and Steve is here too. Okay. Hey, Steve, how are you doing? Good. You're attending as a member of the public. Do you have any public comments that you'd like to register at the beginning? Okay. Do we have any public comments that came in online, Chris?
No, sir. No public comments.
Okay. You will notice throughout the meeting that there'll be a few minor differences just based on, the recording policy and that sort of thing. One of the things that I would like to see is that we don't get into protracted discussions about things that we don't have on the agenda or there has been no motion made to discuss a particular item, that kind of thing. That one, I don't intend to enforce that rigorously. I think the way that we've done kind of a relaxed way of parliamentary procedure, if you will, works just fine. And I think if people, certainly the public, if people have things to say and add to the conversation and they're recognized to do that, then, as far as I'm concerned, that's a benefit to the process. So we'll just see how it works. So without any public comment, has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah, I think there should be one correction, and just for the sake of accuracy, I was not at the last meeting. I was trying to get here, but I was picking up my bride at the airport, and I sat in traffic forever trying to get here. But just for accuracy, I was not here.
We almost couldn't function without.
I know it's a real hardship, and I understand that.
Blaine just logged on online, just so y'all know.
Okay.
I will correct that.
Supposed to be here.
Yeah. So Blaine, you missed part of the introduction. We're talking about these are no longer going to be virtual meetings, so you'll have to come back to attend in person again. Woo-hoo.
He laughed.
He left already?
No, he laughed.
Oh, he left? Oh, good.
I just saw it. There he is. Okay.
All right.
Hi, Blaine. Okay.
All right. Thanks for letting me in.
Just this once, though.
All right.
If there are no corrections or additions to the minutes, other than JJ's attendance.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as
Okay.
amended.
Second. Moved and seconded that we accept the minutes as submitted and with the correction amendment. Sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Summer Classic Regatta Moorage rate. As the marina is the host for the in the water part of it and so forth. And I don't know if this item needs any lead in, Chris, but Dave Steckman, who has been a member of this committee in the past, is he in Hawaii now?
No, he's actually in San Diego.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Anyway, he's not here.
Yeah.
And but he's still orchestrating this as if he was here.
He is?
Him and Aaron Hale.
I thought Aaron was.
Well, Aaron's kind of the,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So he's
the
the
local
local
guy,
contact.
but no, Dave Steckman's different.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm thrilled Dave's involved in it still. That adds a little level of organization right to the top of it.
Do we have any idea, just not to digress, of how many boats they're hoping to attract?
Well,
This year,
yeah, see, the last 2 years, we've had about 20 boats, but they've
Right.
all been local.
Yeah, most of them.
Almost all, maybe one boat each year.
Yeah.
And
Very heavily represented by the San Juans.
yeah.
Someone's been close.
And, they supposedly are doing a better job of publicizing it this year. They're making it very cheap to
come and race.
attend because it's a $100 entry fee. And for that, you get free breakfast and free dinners for 3 days,
3 days of racing.
for skipper and crew. And so,
And Moorage.
and more, yeah. So,
That leads right into
Yeah.
the agenda item is that we consider the moorage rate for the classic boat regatta. Classic means what?
no, it doesn't
Doesn't mean
mean
anything.
No.
Okay, they're not wooden boats or
No,
anything like
no,
that?
no.
Okay. So we are asked to review and approve up to 40-foot slips.
What the plan was Dave called me and asked me about the event and asked, or told me that the yacht club wanted to pay for the slips to help attract other people. I thought it sounded like a great deal. They were also talking to the J boats, and that is a real serious consideration that they're coming. In fact, I got an email last night from Aaron. Some of them were concerned about the depth of FDOC.
Mhm.
Ironically, we just had FDOC survey at the beginning of the year, so I actually sent him the actual survey of FDOC showing that it's -12, -10, so hopefully pass that on, which is good. It's a -2 tide
Yeah,
at some point during
So you
that.
still
I
got
don't
10
know the
feet.
still
time.
have 10 feet.
All right.
Right. So I remembered in the code, we had this special rule that we've used from Race Week from time to time. I don't think that we'll deploy this on every event, but I think in the early years, it's good to help to build the event. They're looking at renting the slips for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, 4 nights. So for the 15 slips, it comes to roughly $765. And for those 15 slips, if they
Per
give
day.
them total, because each slip is
Oh, gotcha,
$12.68 per day.
Okay.
If they attract more boats, then we'll backfill the slips and use the 50-foot space along GDock
And do some rafting.
and do some rafting if we need to or something. So I think this is the first big step in building this race up. I know we've done it before, but I mean, it seems like they're all in on this one, I think.
They've got some good sponsorship.
We got a lot of sponsors.
Yeah. So,
Chris, in your discussion with the yacht club, if they have more than 15 coming in from out of the area, are they wanting to pay it for anyone, or do they have like a first come first serve up to 15?
First come, first serve up to 15 is what we're gonna pay for, and then anybody, that encourages them to come in and try to get those first slips. After that, then they have to pay their own.
Was it based on arrival or registration?
I don't know how they're gonna do that, I think it could be registration, I believe.
yeah, and those extras.
That always comes up.
Mhm.
What is first come, first served?
Right, and the way we'll do it different than race week is you guys can handle the slip assignments for these guys, so.
Right.
That'll
And
be
could,
good.
if we needed to, if it's just J24, if it's the same 124s, could we just go 3 across and a U on FDOT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's enough space.
any 24-foot boat will fit like that,
Mhm.
so, yeah. And then we'll raft if we get more than 15 big boats, so. But it seems pretty serious that J boats are,
That'd be great.
why wouldn't they come at that
why not?
price,
You
right?
bet. For $100 for 3 days of racing and food.
Mhm. Yep. So, the yacht club has paid the deposit already, I believe, is what I'm told. And, this is just to let you guys know and see what you think of this arrangement for the first year or 2 or, however long. But to help build that up, I think it's super important.
And this is similar to the rate that we charged for race week.
At Race Week, we charged them a Marina Advisory approved rate.
Right.
It was about double this.
It was double this?
But then towards the end of the years, we started moving it up a little bit, I think, so.
Well, Ryan, you already answered my next question. That's, all this is okay with the yacht club. It's all gone through the process and stuff, and you get race committee lined up and chase boats and.
Are you the race committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can never remember, POR or P, what is that phrase you use, principal race officer?
Oh, yeah,
PRO.
yeah.
PRO, yeah.
So he gets another title.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's not derogatory.
Any comment on this or thoughts?
Okay. Actually, I'll ask for a motion on that one.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion to
Accept the
approve the rate study as submitted.
Always good when we're adjusting fees.
Yeah.
Then I will move that we
On a one-time basis.
accept the the fee as outlined in this memo for this particular event.
Okay, so second. Move and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we're moving on to the BST, that's Paul Sorensen, rate study, scope and overview. That's Chris, that's your.
So, we've had a lot of talk about rates and stuff with Paul over the past 4 months now. And as we started thinking about rates and looking at the rates, we thought it might be a good idea to bring him into the mix on this and hire him to perform a rate study. Some of the advantages of him doing it is he has a lot of the information already that he needs. He has a bird's eye view of what other marinas are doing, which is good because he can keep us competitive in that market. He's going to put together a 5-year rate plan that we will review each year at this level and approve or disapprove or adjust as needed. He's also going to take a look at not only our moorage rates, but all of our rates, from labor to gas to, everything in the bucket that we charge for, and also look at other marinas, what they charge for that we're not charging for that maybe we should be. I can't imagine what those are, but he has a lot of connections. He's also going to take a look at knowing that our marina, and this is really key, knowing that our marina is 75% Island County people, 50% in Oak Harbor people. How is that going to affect us? What are the household incomes? We definitely don't want the exodus we had in 2011-12 when that rate was raised so high. So those are the values we're getting. The study rate is $9,000. I talked to him today. He was going to dash down here. I said, don't worry about it. We can go over this. As you know, he's vice president of the NMTA
And the boat show's
and the boat show's going on. So he's trying to do 2 things at once. But we think that it's a good value providing 5 years worth of solid rate information that we can use. And I'm not saying the rate information that we used before was wrong. I'm just saying that it didn't include everything we're getting here. We're getting a professional bird's eye view of where we should be and what we're doing. And as he said it at many of the meetings he's been to in the last 4 months, we can't rate increase our way into redesign and redevelopment of the marina, but we do need to bring our rates up. But where is that value for our marina? How do we not affect the marina occupancy, that sort of deal?
Chris, we need to know what our rates, well, I think the main thing we need to know is how much our tenants will accept rate increases.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that I think we can get out of the study. But I'll tell you, I'm just, I've got some real concerns about the one-time costs that we're putting in to this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's real hefty. We've got, now I may be a little wrong on my figures, but I think we've got $24,000 for the study over there at America's Haven for the consultant, and we've got 34,000 on the one we just did for the business plan for the marina, and then we've got 9,000. That's $69,000, and then I'm not being disparaging, but then we've got $60,000 for the Parks and Rec, all of which we never had before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, what's that, $130,000 that on when we make
$100,000.
Yeah.
And coupled with the fact that, we looked at Paul's proposals and it says that where we are right now, it's not sustainable. I mean, the marina is not sustainable, and that there's no discussion in that, or there's no argument about that.
Yeah.
There's lots of discussion, but we're going to continue to spend all this money on consultants to tell us the exact same thing. And we've yet to come up with an ask, so to speak. There has to be an ask here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the marina is not sustainable. You do an amazing job keeping a Band-Aid on this thing and keeping it going so we have a decent marina. You know, but we know that there's a lot of things that have to happen.
Right.
And unless we come up with a bigger plan to make those things happen, continuing to spend money on studies is going to tell us the exact same thing. You know, and if we have a rate plan that goes through 2027 for a marina that may incur all kinds of difficulties between now and then, it doesn't help us any. We're missing the biggest part of this issue. We have to come up with a plan to keep it viable and to keep it as an asset for the city, if the city so desires.
I would say that that plan to keep it viable is really going to focus on the reconfiguration and you know, the restoration or refurbishing of the marina as it is. Now, council's already in the work session shown a lot of support. We were very happy with their reaction and show of support for going through that yes, we want to look at how we keep the marina. We're not interested in doing away with the marina. So I think what they're going to look for, though, is, okay, what are we bringing to the table? And part of that equation is going to be, are you adjusting fees to support operations? Are you looking at you know, the configuration as well on all these things? But they're going to want to see, you know,
Fees aren't the answer. We can't.
no,
feed our way
but
down.
council will want to see something come in adjustment of the fees from the users themselves. So if you want to say,
They'll do it. I mean, it's a funny argument because they'll want to see the fees. Well, we'll pay it. You know, it doesn't matter to a certain extent what happens. We've absorbed 15% increases over the years. Most of us around this table have been here long enough to remember all that. We'll pay it, but there's got to be a plan. There has to be an end plan. We can't continue to be paying more and more fees for a marina that Chris spends all his days, probably most of his sleepless nights, trying to figure out that it's not going to fall into the ocean, you know, or break free from a dock when we have a tide. You know, there has to be something, and we just can't keep putting a Band-Aid on this, and we can't keep raising the fees and saying, oh yeah, the council, God bless them, you know, they're receptive. We haven't asked for anything yet. You know, they don't know what we want. They don't know what we need, really.
That gets to the, I guess, the support that I would lend to this sort of thing is most bodies, I'll use it generically, like the fact that there is some third-party expert testimony about what fees, rates, pricing, whatever
Makes sense.
should be. My sense is that that's the way the council is going to be swayed. And you mentioned an ask. Yeah, we don't really know what this trajectory is going to be, other than you know, an ask would be for, you know, the city to cover whatever the bond costs are for the improvements.
Yeah, the dredge and reconfigure permits?
Yeah, which we don't know yet, and we won't know for some time.
Right.
Chris has had a meeting, and probably others, but had a meeting with the engineering firm to kind of get the process started, or at least the concepts started, but we're a long ways from that.
Yeah.
So I think that if we're going to get to the ask number, this sort of thing, I was just making some notes here about, you know, I think our fuel pricing strategy needs to be revised. I think our overnight moorage thing needs to be revised, because we did that initially many years ago as citizens of the community. How can we help the tourist businesses? Well, turns out they don't really care, apparently. But we brainstormed and came up with this idea of, okay, if you visit the fuel dock and then you get a certain amount of credit towards overnight moorage, and Chris probably has a different view of this than I do, but I think we're giving away way too much for transients that might spend some money in town, but they typically don't because it's too far to walk. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I see a lot of them come cruising in, get fuel, and cruise right back out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was
Yeah,
sharing
but,
that.
but and then those people are just getting
That's
the nickel per hundred. I mean, so, and that's
Yeah.
not, but,
Well-
but I know what you mean about
No,
the
it's
people getting
cheaper
20.
than other.
Well, it should
Yeah.
be cheaper. I mean, we buy it cheaper
Yeah,
because of our
But
status.
we need to find, yeah, we
Well,
need to
how-
figure out,
He buys it under city
well, it's
contract.
a state
It's a
contract.
state contract.
And
So we buy
that
it-
doesn't necessarily mean it's cheap. It's-
Okay.
It's just pre-negotiated
Right.
by a larger entity. So, if they're protecting
But it's
themselves.
historically less expensive
Mhm.
than other places would pay for the fuel to begin with.
I would hope so.
Yes.
it is significantly less.
Yeah. Right now, the price at the pump, we just went up to 390 something. What?
493.
$4.93 for diesel? So it went up a buck 30?
I thought it was 393.
No, it's 493.
Oh,
Wasn't
No.
it 360 something last month?
well,
I don't recall. It went up, yeah.
yeah. I think I looked at it online and it was in the threes. It wasn't in the fours, but.
Last summer, we had a heck of a line. Most weekends, the boats. waiting
Yeah,
to get in.
yeah, the word is, the word got out and so forth. So we know that there's a certain segment of the market that's very price sensitive and there's a certain segment of the market that isn't at all price sensitive. If you charter a boat for 2 weeks and stuff, fuel's just part of it's a line item on the budget, so,
Well, I've been worried about what we've been charging for fuel too, and I just kind of put the pencil to it using the figures from 2021. Because that's the most recent we have for the whole year. And our fuel revenues were $430,000 for that year. Our fuel costs were $367,000. Now, I realize it's a moving target and things, but it's a 15% profit margin that we make, not counting staff time.
Mhm.
And that's,
it's a little tight.
yeah.
So,
I bet the
again,
staff
getting
time
back
eats
to,
into a lot of that.
Well, sure it does. Sure.
Yeah.
It depends upon who's pumping it too and where they came from,
Yeah.
you
well, and
know.
it's a matter
How
of,
big a boat?
yeah, if somebody's out on FDOC and they gotta go to the fuel dock, it takes them, half an hour to get there. or whatever.
And, so, yeah, I mean, and we report those every month as revenues. Well, I think that's really misleading, and we ought to not
Yeah.
call it revenue.
But those are the kinds of things
Yeah.
that I would look forward to addressing with a little more detail. And, the tricky thing about, well, even Moorage, but certainly fuel prices, it is a moving target. And so you have to look at it over the long haul in order to generate some kind of cohesive strategy. But yeah, your point's well taken. And in the past, we have attempted to work out estimates for the cost of the people costs of doing that. And the new DOCWA system will help a little bit
Mhm.
in terms of the payment processing and so forth. It'll take less staff time
Oh,
to do
it's-
that.
Yeah.
But you still have to have somebody, it's a floating fuel.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be there.
Yeah.
And we know that.
Yeah.
And we can't do it with volunteers because that's not acceptable.
The only thing I would say, I would hate to see us lose the reputation of being the least expensive fuel around, because that does in fact
Mhm.
bring people here to get fuel, and whether they stay or not.
Yeah, the question is
Because
whether
it's
or
not a
not,
destination.
It's not a
otherwise.
destination, and it won't be.
and the question is whether or not we're covering our costs.
Right, I mean,
To an
we've,
adequate extent.
we've had these discussions over the years, when we went
Yeah.
from 35 cents to 45 cents on top of the fuel price. We looked, it was staffed to death. It was great staff work, it really was. But I mean, if it's time to do that again, it's time to do that again.
But you're absolutely right. It needs to be part of a holistic plan. So, this is one piece of, and it needs to fit into how are we going to be pricing some of this passive income, whether it's, third-party leases or dry dock storage, some of these other things we're looking at with Mariner's Haven. And it also making sure that we're constructing it from the bottom up rather than a top-down approach, like you said, to make sure that we are covering our costs.
The thing that Paul doesn't have a firm view of, I think, from my perspective, is this fact that we're not a destination.
Mhm.
We're out of the way.
Yeah.
And the R2 buoy that marks the outside of the channel, there are some people that observe that and make the round trip around that. Everybody in this room probably does. But we have to have some advantage other than just halfway between Seattle and the San Juans, because we're not, by the time you add in the.
Yeah, it's
trip.
it's a half hour, just to get from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
buoy to the dock. And
So I didn't mean to disparage Paul, but I don't think he has a complete appreciation of and the lack of shoreside support and retail and yard and.
Well, and then what our small boats are used for. He talks a lot about stack storage, which I know works for other marinas, but
Sure.
the small boats offering them stack storage doesn't work for the San Juans, and it won't work for the people that want to use their boats for crabbing, because they could just leave it at their house.
Well, and that's a whole topic of, in our pricing structure right now, if you're in a small boat, it's a pretty good deal.
it's a very good deal.
Those are the
Very-
kind of
And you
things
get
we
the-
gotta look at.
And you get the trailer storage and
Right,
stuff.
it's a
So,
fantastic deal. If you
we
have a
need to-
trailable boat, it's a
Yeah.
great deal.
And the larger boats are an issue too, because that's the place where all the demand is, and we're below market. So, we have to take a second look at that. I know it's your favorite subject.
My favorite subject.
I think that as we consider a few things, the price, that was a hard one for me to swallow, truthfully, for a minute. And then I said, well, I'm going to look at this a different way. I'm going to break it down by 5 years, and we're going to be at $1,800 a year roughly for this.
If it works for 5 years,
Yeah.
I'm not
Right,
sure
right.
it's going to.
That's what we don't know because
Yeah,
of the
well,
economy,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So-
there's so many other factors. I think it's good for, a couple of years at best.
I was saying.
And that's why we're going to
So
review
we're
it
gonna
at this
review it.
level
Yeah.
and then go from there. I think that you guys are spot on with, we need to look at everything from fuel to our small boat contracts to our annual contracts. Most
Oh,
marinas
yeah.
are not doing
Yeah.
annual contracts anymore because the demand is so high.
There's
But
certainly
those
no
are-
discount for an annual contract.
Yeah, so those are the kind of things that he's really going to dive into. Are we the only ones doing the annual contracts? I'm pretty certain we're the only ones that do kind of that small boat thing. And we've been doing that for
Number of
6-7 years now. So, has it
I've
run,
not
have those
seen-
run the
I've not
course?
seen that small boat thing anywhere, but I've also not seen any marinas that have slips, an overwhelmingly number of small boat slips.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that chart showed that.
We
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that, and that costs us dearly, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And that's going to factor into our discussions too, about reconfiguring and the cost of
Yeah, yeah.
doing that. Because there's a cost of it.
So I think that, if we look at it those ways, I think we're getting a lot of a bang for our buck here. Sure, it's $9,000 and you guys that know me, I'm trying to not pinch every penny, but make every penny I know where it goes. So I think this is a good value, and I think that moving forward with it also, as Ken said, buys a lot of credit with us with the
Yeah,
city council.
I think that's true.
Do we need a motion or has this already been approved, this rate study?
I think it's been commissioned.
It's
I
been-
received-
Has it been commissioned already?
I received the
Yeah.
contract and I sent it to Paul and he signed it, and I sent it to Blaine for signature today, but you can certainly do a motion
Nah,
if you'd like.
if it's done, it's
It's
done.
done,
It's done. It's
yeah.
done.
So, and going back to the cost as well, the overall cost, for the boat study or the boatyard, the study there is coming out of that grant money that we received. from
Oh,
the county.
okay, so that's not coming out.
Can we talk about the boatyard here, or do we have to go to executive session to do that?
We would have to go, I can give you an overview of some things and I plan on doing that.
Okay.
And then if not, we can schedule an executive
Yeah,
session
we'll-
next month,
Yeah, we'll do that.
or you can come talk to me
All right,
one-on-one.
because I have a couple questions about that.
Okay, and you can always come talk to me one-on-one, not as a group.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that's coming out.
Yeah, for the boatyard, that
Yes.
one is.
When we get into policy discussions, so, getting back to the recording of things, we all know that the winds change from time to time and public disclosure is paramount now.
Mhm.
Most folks that I talk to and that all of us talk to in this community don't understand that this is an enterprise fund. The Marina
Yeah,
Advisory
of course they
Nobody
don't.
knows. Right, unless you're involved in it.
And
Yeah,
they think
no.
their taxpayer money is paying, going down.
Most tenants don't know that.
Yeah, I don't
That's-
think so.
that's
So we have
correct.
to put some time and effort into that
Yeah.
education piece. Certainly, there are members of the city council that don't get
Oh,
that. Not most of them. Like there were days in the past
It was
when
Ken
most
Hewlett
of
who
them.
said that.
Did you get?
Did you get that?
No, I had several discussions with sitting council people that swore up and down that I was wrong about no tax money involved.
Hard
Well,
to
I
believe.
wish you were wrong.
Yeah.
I wish you would.
And
Just really
one
wrong.
time, it was just after they finished the budget discussion. So, I don't know. I said, okay, show me the line. And he said, what are you talking about? It's a whole bunch of paper. I don't want to worry about that. We'll go.
I know who that was.
I knew that. The impression was
It was very good. Yes, very good. The sidewalk king.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. The general update.
Yeah, I have a lengthy one for you guys. A lot going on behind the scenes. Obviously, DACWA rolled that out on the 1st, sent the emails out 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on the 1st. Since that time, and we have roughly 400 accounts or contracts, as we're calling them now, and that's Moorage storage and parking storage. So in just a short amount of time, we're about halfway there. We've gotten about 200 of them back. We do offer, if you're having problems, come to the office. At first, this took us 15, 20 minutes. Now it's down to about 5 to 10 to roll through it.
Took me an hour on one boat and a half hour on the next.
Yeah, Elise said she told you she could. Here you go. Oh, so we're happy to help anybody that comes to the office, and that's literally coming in the office. We have everything set up in there, and we're bringing extra people into the office. That extra person would be Elise or Duncan or somebody. So we're rolling through them pretty good, and the overall response we're getting is, although the sign up can be a little confusing, the end result's going to be great because people are really putting their cards on there. I would say about 90% of those 200 have stored their cards online with us. So that's the payoff we're looking for right there. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be pushing hard. We're really pushing hard on our ACH people right now, because if they don't get the contract signed up, get everything done, we're not going to be able to process
Actually, that's a change. Initially, I know I was told, and I think I shared it here, that we didn't have to do anything if we were already set up on ACH.
We meant payment wise.
Okay.
Not everybody's got to do that.
ACH is
I
automated.
already
cash
have that,
handling.
so
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything.
Nope, you've done
Well,
what you have to
now,
do.
You have to sign, you do have to sign the agreement.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did that. But yeah, but
Okay,
we've been paying like that for
yeah.
Yeah,
generations.
Yeah. And it's going through City Hall and getting paid that way
Yeah,
somehow or
Yeah,
another.
one better keep it the same, but I signed the,
Yeah, I will, I asked a lot of questions, but I'm ready to sign that.
Come to the office. We'll help you.
That's right.
So that's really good, coupled with the fact through the credit cards, we can now receive American Express because we're not taking it. It's going through DACWA. DACWA actually doesn't process the credit cards. It's Stripe. Stripe is a huge, I believe they do Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're huge. So it's a
So-
secure as
Do
you
we
can.
know
The
what
trouble is,
do you know what the cost is of using credit card versus ACH?
It's 1.5% for the credit cards.
Oh, that's
The
pretty good.
ACH, I'm not sure what we're getting charged. It's less than that.
very
It's
little.
probably
It's
one,
very
I would
little.
guess.
When you get an
0.75.
electronic check from Whidbey Bank, it's
Yeah.
paying
Probably
very little. Yeah, I think maybe nothing.
And Chris was saying that the credit cards, when they come to the marina, the old, it was costing 3%.
Close to 3%. Yeah. So this
Yeah,
is a
so
big
it's much better
savings.
deal.
Yeah.
And we're getting involved with a volume vendor, so that,
Mhm.
Now, Chris, I do mine a little differently than ACH. I use bill pay for my bank. That's still.
That's the same.
That's the same thing.
No,
Not the same thing.
ACH is when they
Yeah.
take it out of your check. We have your routing number in your bank account.
I
And they
use bill
pull-
pay. I use
Yeah.
the same thing. Byron
So
does.
we'll be receiving, it's a check that we
Yeah, you get a
receive.
check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. There,
Okay.
the way that's working is, all of our mail comes here to City Hall. So the checks are actually sent over to us and then we enter them into DACWA.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, but it's still going to be a much faster process. So there's two things there. But we're super excited and it's going well. And, I'm hoping in a month or two that everybody's just sailing along. And really the reason we had to do this, the Marina program that we were using before, we purchased in 2002, literally it took hours to do everything we needed to do in there. The beginning of the day, the end of the day, processing the payments. It took City Hall an awful long time as well. And quite frankly, it was about one step up from a shoebox in a database, an old-fashioned database. So we're happy to head in this direction. So I'll keep you updated as we keep going.
We keep monitoring the costs and they don't start creeping up on us and stuff.
Yeah, that's a big concern. And there are other companies that do this, and we vetted some of them. And this was
almost every marina I can around here, and even the ones in Canada are in dock law.
Yeah. So it's good.
Is that processing fee passed on to the user?
No, we have not done that. We have not done that. That's done in a lot of industries, I know, but I can tell you in the marina industry, I don't know any marinas that's passing that extra
Kind of like
percentage.
Wi-Fi, it's gotta be free.
That's right. Well, they won't go.
But we've been first in a lot of things in Oak Harbor, so we'll see what the future brings.
You slide that in there, they won't notice.
Oh, they will notice.
Oh, I know.
They will notice.
Hey, I pay by that with no fees.
Oh, yeah, I would change to that in a
Yeah, I
heartbeat.
know.
Second update is about the dredging and where we're at in that. We did have our kickoff meeting. We're rolling in that. We're sending information to Moffett Nichols. We did have our depth survey and topographic survey. So excited about that. And also we've had an initial conversation with them about doing a contract amendment to reconfigure and analyze and look at what are our options at the Oak Harbor Marina. And the way we told them we'd like to do it is from the quick kills, it's like option 1, to state-of-the-art option 5. When we get that information, we'll have a workshop with the city council and we'll present those options to them and then just see where we go from there. We do not have a firm contract with Moffett Nichols for that yet. We're eyeing the February 22nd council meeting. I'm not sure that we're going to make that, but
We're talking dredging now.
dredging and
Okay,
reconfiguring.
can I bring up something? I had a long discussion yesterday with the port commissioner for the Port of Lacana. And they're gonna dredge the Lacana Channel next year
Again?
again.
Oh, yeah.
And the way they got it done, and he said, have Chris call me.
Mhm.
They've been doing the Corps does the twofers. And they like to call them twofers when you know how expensive the
Yeah.
positioning is of all the dredge equipment. If they can do two in a very close geographic location, the Corps is more likely to do that.
Mhm. Okay, that's good
So
info.
call the port director, the port commissioner.
Okay. I know the harbor master there too. So.
And they are gonna dredge next year. And
That's part of the Port of Skagit, right?
No, it's
no,
Port of
Port of
Lacana.
Lacana, they have their own port. they have their
Oh,
own
wait.
port. Oh, wait.
No, Port of Skagit.
Port of
Yes,
Skagit.
Port of
yes,
Skagit.
yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I had to think
But
about that. So
if it's possible, maybe we could get,
maybe we can tie in.
maybe we could get the channel.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. That would
And
be
and
good.
if they're gonna position that close, and cost $500,000 or more, or whatever it is, maybe we could take
Awesome.
advantage of that. It's worth the phone call.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. So they're planning on dredging the
Next year,
the
the
yacht
channel,
basin or the
the-
channel?
the
Slough.
slough,
Oh.
where it spills in on both sides.
It's
Right there by
interesting.
Hole
They
in the
just
Wall.
did that twice.
They're able to do it because
No,
of
for
the
the
commercial
vessels.
application.
Yeah,
okay.
Because of the native crabbing and the native fishing
Mhm.
and the logging. And so they have commercial reasons why they have to keep that channel open.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks for the tip. I'll definitely call him. Another update item is our fuel tanks and our fuel system. Some of you may notice that we have not been selling fuel up until recently. You know where our fuel tanks are. There's actually a diesel line and a gas line that lead underneath the boat ramp. And both of those terminate and connect to other pipes in these wells that we have, plastic line wells that collect any drippage off of the ball valves or fittings or anything. Well, we have a leak underneath the boat ramp. So we're working with Pacific Environmental to resolve that for us. It's an emergency repair. The good news is we do not have to dig up the boat ramp at this point. We did do some jackhammer work last week and found that underneath the ramp, the current fuel lines are running through a 12-inch pipe. So they'll be able to just pull the new ones through. So that'll save a lot of money. That'll save a ton of money.
How was this discovered?
In the vaults, when we checked, they were full of
Fuel.
diesel and gas.
And then
So
went
both of
somewhere.
them are leaking. The way that the pipes work, the current ones, they're encased in plastic. So when the metal pipe springs a leak, the plastic shoots the fluid to the point of least resistance. So one filled up, then the other one filled up, and they're lower than the pipe. So they go like this. So we found it before it spilled over, before it created any mess, and we just pumped them out into barrels and we'll have that stuff taken away. But that is an expense that's going to come this way. I don't know what it is. I can tell you that when we had the fuel dock repiped from basically the hoist down to the pumps, that was about $70,000, but that was a much bigger job than what we're talking about now. We're talking about replacing some ball valves and pulling the new pipe through.
It won't reach the level of some sort of insurance claim?
No, they've been there since 97.
Okay.
So I don't have a price. We're working through that. And we are we're now able to sell fuel by containing the drips, catching them, using pads and diapers, and all of the valves are turned off. When we get a fuel sale, we'll go turn them on and then close them when we're done. So it's just worn out. I'll keep you up to date on that.
Clean water grants.
There's
Oh,
Regarding insurance, I don't think we want to tap the insurance. We have a $100,000 deductible now, and we just barely avoided being canceled. So it shows the state of disrepair of the marina. So I think we want to be very strategic if we utilize our insurance.
yeah. I don't think there's any way we could justify this insurance. It just was time.
Winston Churchill had an interesting comment. He said, this legislation was commenting on something in the House of Commons. This legislation makes about as much sense as giving a teenage boy whiskey and the car keys.
Yeah. And then
You popped in my head.
Appropriate. It is appropriate.
My hero.
launch ramp floats are still on track as far as I know for February, March.
Good.
As soon as the fish window closes, American Construction's done with their big in-water works. They're supposed to head this way because we're not an in-water project.
Do we have you have all the pieces?
We have the pieces they've sent us so far. I think everything else they're going to buy common or bring it with them. But we have, the piles are twice as big as what they were. And you can see them over by the fuel tanks laying on the concrete there. So.
In the design standards, are they talking about whether it's for this application or the reconfiguration of marine stuff, are they talking about higher sea levels?
I would imagine they are. I haven't talked to them directly about that, but they're marine engineers, so I can ask them for sure.
Down 2 mornings in a row, I came down.
We have this much, like 18 inches of pile.
I took some pictures and stuff like on ADOC and throughout the marina. You know, we're about this far away from overtopping those. And when you get that far up on those pilings, they work more.
Yeah.
But that was really unusual. I mean, those king tides and the low.
That was a
barometric
perfect
pressure.
storm.
Yeah, it really
It was a
was.
low.
Well, it wasn't, it was just the low tides. It wasn't king tides
It was just a high tide.
and it wasn't, when, if I'd planned ahead, I would have gone down there when it was
But it was
really high and the low pressure was there.
13
The wind was
feet,
blowing
yeah,
in,
right.
Yeah.
stuff like that. I would imagine that would have scared the crap out of me if I'd seen that one, but
It was good you didn't come.
it was,
Was that when the ramp was kind of
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the
inverted?
ramp was going
It was
up.
inverted?
Yeah.
That's not
That's not good.
comforting. Yeah,
It's good it hinges both ways,
Yeah.
right?
Those piles that they have laying over there by the fuel tank, they're longer than the ones that came out, correct?
They're
So
longer and they're bigger.
They'll be taller.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They're probably 4 or 5 feet taller, I would guess. And the other ones were like 1/2 inch, and I'd say these are 5/8 at least.
So they should last a good long time.
They should outlast us for sure. So
So that's,
yeah.
Doesn't take much.
Yeah.
that's not even a 5-year plan.
Yeah. The last
Yeah,
thing,
he's gotta make 5 years.
Yeah.
the last thing I'll give you an update on is Mariners Haven, and just a generic update. We had the phase 1 done. Everything went fine with that. The phase 2,
What does that mean? Everything went fine?
there were no findings in the phase
You're
1.
kidding.
The phase 1 is just a research process,
Right.
though.
Oh.
They didn't do any big.
Phase 2 is when they took the borings. They did, I believe, 5 15-foot borings throughout the property. It's been about 3 weeks now, so we should get the results pretty soon. I did see them.
Just laughing at us.
It's pretty neat how they do that. So once we get the results,
Yeah.
we'll have an
Surprised it
executive
doesn't blow in
session
the
for
dark.
sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that at all.
They came back with glowing reports.
Yeah, that'd be bad. So, and then the business plan Paul's working on, and then the building inspections, I'm still trying to coordinate that.
I
So,
have a question about that. The survey that was sent out was really kind of interesting.
mhm.
How was the responses, or what were the responses?
I haven't seen them yet.
Oh, you haven't seen them?
That's part of Paul's business
Okay,
plan.
Okay.
I'm sure that maybe next meeting he'll have that information
So
for
I
us.
thought
Oh,
I knew that there were
Oh,
going to be.
on the yard.
On the yard.
On the yard. I knew there was going to be a lot of curmudgeons who would say, what are you guys doing? You
Yeah.
know, but I'd be curious to see what the overall comments were about the boatyard.
He got a great response rate. I want to say in the 150, 160
Yeah.
range.
Okay.
We didn't send it out twice. We just sent it out the one time because we thought that would be best. So that's what's going on with Mariners Haven. As far as occupancies go and stuff like that, we're holding really strong, you know.
Before we leave the Mariners Haven topic, do we need an executive session to talk about, scope or feasibility or business plan or?
We will have an executive session at some point to go over that, definitely. That's a little different than the Marina business
When
plan.
does the BST business plan, and when's it forecast to be done?
Probably in the next month or so. But you know how he walked us along with his findings, piece by piece, and didn't give us a big presentation till the end? Maybe that's what we'll have him do this time as well. But that will be executive session.
Oh, from the people I talked to, that their concern with it would be being able to continue to pull your boat out and being able to have it be a workable boatyard. Where you can pull it out. and do the
Pressure wash.
Well,
Or not,
that's
you can't pressure wash it out
everywhere.
but being able to maybe work on your prop or get your boat bottom or
Right.
whatever.
I mean, the intent, I guess the intent is storage and haul out, right? I mean, that's the initial phase.
Those are options.
Those are the options. And hopefully that it will, if we can haul out, there'll be bottom paint services available, because it doesn't do you any good to haul the boat if you can't paint it and put it back in. So,
I think the business plan is going to reveal a lot of this. I don't want to go too deep into this stuff right here.
But that's the concern is
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
it'll continue being a kind of a self-serve boatyard. And whether
And the survey is going to answer a lot of
Yeah,
questions for us.
that's always the wild card, and whether or not, because there are a lot of yards that will not let any
that's right.
boat owner work on their own boat, or they won't allow outside vendors. They've got their list of vendors and then that's it. And,
It's almost every boatyard around here is like.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So being
Ecology
able-
is not encouraging that. I can tell you that right
I
now.
don't think so.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's just my statement.
We can really dive into the weeds at the next meeting. We can put an executive session on there. But really, this is the information we have so far, plus what you all know already. So,
I mean, we can have long discussions about that, about what, if it does actually happen, are we just gonna have them hauled out and stored? Or, because you gotta clean the bottoms,
mhm.
or, you gotta do something.
Paul has some information on that that he'll share with you. We've had some conversations.
Yeah, that'll be, because there are some kind of creative and interesting things that have been done in other
Oh, yeah,
areas.
yeah.
Most of them involve capture and filtration and separation of the toxins from the rest of the water and, stuff like that. So, we might not like the options and alternatives, but in order to have a fully functioning boatyard, you gotta address those.
Yeah, yeah. It's,
But there may be some grant funds available too for the,
Mhm.
from the
you would
clean water
hope, you would
people.
hope there would be.
The salmon people have all kinds of money apparently.
Yeah, they do. All right, that's a general update from my end.
Okay. Advisory committee comments, if we're not already exhausted.
I have one other thing. I did go to the boat show yesterday, and I was surprised that almost all the marinas, the Puget Sound marinas were represented, almost all of them, which was really good. There were no great deals being offered. You know, in the past, you know, there were certificates for Moorage and stuff like that, but they were all there. Puget Sound anglers had a big booth.
Mhm.
They talked about stocking Oak Harbor.
Oh, did they? Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
really neat.
I didn't know they were all that involved in it this year.
Oh, they were.
Okay, what they did, they had a slideshow going up.
Really?
Yeah, they
Oh,
had
that's
a
neat.
nice little booth, and it was pretty impressive.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
We've had the discussions in the past about, and we've had a presence at some of the boat shows years ago and stuff, and then it was pretty hard to justify the cost based on
It's expensive.
the results that we got, or the lack of results
Yeah.
that we got. So it was just sort of like,
And then staffing, it's a challenge for us with such a small crew. You guys would have to take vacations and go to the boat show and help us out. So, it would be fun though.
It was interesting though, that, I mean, LaConner had their port commissioner there, man, in the booth on Sunday.
Well, that's interesting.
And it was pretty interesting to see.
you say
you know,
port commissioner, there must be at
No,
least 5 of them or something.
No, he was the
Chairman.
The chairman.
Oh.
Yeah. And what else did I see that really interested me? It was it was only one Canadian marina was there, and in the past,
There's been a bunch of.
all the Canadians would
Yeah,
come
yeah,
down. I
yeah.
expected them all to be back this year because it was easy to get across
What's
the
that,
border.
Oak Bay group or something?
Yeah, but none of them were there. The only one who was there was Port McNeil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were the only ones there. I thought
It's still coming back. You know, those
Yeah,
marinas
it's heavy.
suffer just like we
Down,
did.
Oh,
get some
boy.
dental work done or something.
Yeah. Yep, that's neat.
Okay. Steve, as a veteran here and stuff, do you have any comments or questions you want to leave us with?
Well, you were talking about marinas doing, or boatyards doing your own work. I can only think of one in Puget Sound, and that's down in Tacoma. And let me tell you, they are strict. I mean, you break any of their rules, and they're not asking you to move your boat. They're picking it up and dumping it in the water.
That's how it has to be pretty much.
It is just crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know there was anybody else who would allow you to work on a boat.
Pilot.
Oh, and the Foss Waterway?
Yeah.
It used to be
No, no,
Cap
I
Sandy,
was
or not Cap Sandy yet.
The one on-
I thought you said down in Everett.
But it was.
It was the Skyline used to,
Oh.
they work on drone boats.
Can you in Everett?
No, no, absolutely not. Oh, wait a minute. In that 1 yard, right behind the travel lift on the north basin,
Yep.
you can work back in there.
Usually it comes down to the insurance company to deal with. So,
You used to be able to work in Port Townsend. I assume that's still the case. And there was a DYI at Skyline.
Skyline had one,
yeah,
yeah.
Skyline did, because I did some work
Yeah.
there.
I heard that
Years
Port
ago.
Townsend's really cracking
Skyline,
down.
don't they take them across the road over there to that
They take them
big?
to that big
Yeah,
yard.
behind the
that
big
yeah,
blue
behind
barn.
the big, yeah. I think we're done.
Okay, next meeting will be March 6th. Make it that far. Thank you all for your attendance and so forth, and if there's something else, we're adjourned.